Hi guys. I did one of these little chit chats with Dante before his run, so I'm back with superfan numero uno and Rott because we're gonna talk to Rott before he does things. I know I'm
And
doing.
I've got like way more things. I watched like half of the stream with Dante,
Yeah.
and that was a very I don't know how to say it, improvised run in a way. It had an idea and no way how to get there. It was a very vague thing.
Well, different people like to do things different ways, cause
Yeah,
cause differences.
because variation and stuff.
Yeah. Personal flair, the dramatic, all that good crap. But
Mm.
you have a giant pile of notes here. So
Yeah,
let's.
which you read at least once.
I mean, 1.5 times probably.
Aw, that's sweet. So should I answer like the comments first, or just generally for the fans and everyone recap
Um,
everything?
so we have like your comments there, and your
Mm-hmm.
wordage, and I'll kind of scroll through them as we go with the recording. But like,
Mm-hmm.
let's start at the top. Like, where was your idea? We'll roll that back to the other top, and we'll start there. So the idea you
Mm.
had was to recover a shipment of what turns out to be beetles for a religious dude.
Mm-hmm. Of like beetles, as you call them, that evoke this kind of religious feeling of calm,
They're
and people would be sort of tricked into using them.
the kind of beetles when you see those images of the evangelist on church where he goes "Ugh," and everybody in the crowd like whooshes backwards as though they were hit by a wave of
Mm-hmm.
horse shit,
Exactly.
basically.
I was sort of inspired, maybe a little bit, by my experience at surgery, where one of the nurses came to me, and it was like my first surgery ever, and I was super shaking and everything because they were like cutting me open. And she came to me and said, like, "Good sir, I will give you something, and you will stop being nervous." And I'm like, "Yeah, right." And then like 5 seconds later, I'm just not nervous, and in my head is like, what is this feeling? Why can't I be nervous? And in my head, it went the other way around, where people are so desperate for feeling good. What if there was something that just made them feel good? Would you want to take it away from them? I don't know.
So you really want to play up
Anyway,
the this is
well,
bringing these
I mean,
people uh, help.
um, yes and no. I mean, I sort of really want to let them go wherever they want to go.
Hmm.
And if they sort of really never explore that subject, if they just end up, I don't know, shooting half of them, maybe someone will hint at it, but I don't want to like jam it down their throats. Sort of,
No,
maybe.
that's legit. We're just kind of like talking out where you got the idea to start this run from,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can kind of have like a little roadmap or something for for where things are going
Yeah.
to take us.
Well, the location of the Orc Underground was very fascinating for me always. And I mean, most of the idea for the run just stemmed out of there. I never saw any like huge mentions of it. I never saw really actual like adventures about it. Maybe it's like my fault for not being thorough, but it was mentioned, and always thought it was like an awesome place.
Hmm.
And I never learned a lot about it, so maybe I wanted to make something about it.
No, that's legit. Um, it does have a nice little moral thing because the idea is to take these beetles, these SimSense chips, where they are giving these people, hope or good feelings or giving them something to believe in, and then do we take it away from them because these are highly addictive things that you should probably not be consuming on the regular?
Mm.
Do we turn in the guy who's running the joint because he's misleading all of these people, or is it really just like the the illusion of hope is really all you need for hope to actually exist?
Your lie is someone else's truth.
Exactly.
And essentially, in a way, I mean, the way I see it right now, it would be taking the hope away from one people and possibly giving it to another group of people,
Right.
just because so. So should they be taking it away at all if they are just going to like benefit from it and just decide it? I don't know. I mean, I think it takes for an interesting stuff. I heard that there was like a little bit of worry if we're gonna play up the philosophical thing with the technomancer, and I think we delivered. So I mean, I hope it's gonna get played up a little bit too, but it doesn't have to.
Right. Um, yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see where things go because this will be. There's a lot of different moving parts that we have kind of talked about in your little
Mm-hmm.
notes thing here. Um, let's, I guess, just go through some of them real quick. Is one is you want there to be the Johnson is a religious figure of some kind. The details are on a lot of things are going to still be forthcoming,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants the runners to get these chips back because he needs them for religious ceremonies and reasons. Because in reality, he is using them to not like control these people, but definitely to manipulate them.
Yeah, and religious followers grant you money and influence and stuff. So
Exactly.
like,
Mm,
there's
but his motivation could also be to help them and make them feel good and closer to God. So he could feel he's doing something right, whereas somebody else may look at it as, no, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
well, I guess the bad guys rarely think they're bad guys. So
Exactly.
Not me. I am 100% evil mastermind.
Going
and
on.
you're proud to be.
Exactly. Wear that on my sleeve of my uniform for my Legion of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Sounds super
Okay.
corny.
The next set of actors or moving pieces we have in here is we have the Orc Underground you want to go into for reasons you stated you really like the Orc Underground. It'll
Mm-hmm.
also give Jet the opportunity to shine because he is an orc,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll give Sue probably a little bit less of a time to shine, but still because he is
He is a
a
giant. And if I remember correctly, a giant is not exactly a troll. He's like a really big human kind of thing.
yeah, they're a troll meta variant. They are a lot more human looking than trolls are. If memory serves, they don't have horns and aren't nearly as ugly and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The the one thing that I mentioned in the notes, I mentioned too when we talked a little bit, was Allie being a changeling. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hit or miss on whether or not you want to be super like
I know
racist
it's
against
they're
her.
like different kinds of racism. It's like
Yeah, which
maybe
is
maybe trolls and orcs are racist too.
yeah. Well, they are like because in the underground they don't
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
humans and elves and dwarves, which is going to be good because that gives Dante something to work against because he is not a orc or troll.
And possibly Hex, if Hex will be there. But yeah,
Yeah.
she is a human.
Hmm.
I mean, human technomancer, but still a human. So
Yeah, but yeah, I can't look at somebody and tell that they are a technomancer.
exactly.
So
So
you also mentioned you had this troll smuggler that you had in mind as the guy who was transporting the cargo. So that gives us a couple couple of leads or places to start, because this is sounding like you want it to be an investigation run, where we are uncovering a mystery and figuring things out.
Kind of did, and then there came the idea of why wouldn't, if the priest, knows it's an illegal thing, why didn't he just point them straight to where they need to go? So the Orc Underground and stuff. Um, so that's why I came with the idea that the priest wasn't doing the stuff all on his own. So I made up a troll dealer connected to the underground. Like he was moving the things. He just, said to the priest, I can get you stuff," and he did for a time. And that's why, in the comments you said he's one of the possible leads, but I kind of wanted him to be missing, because it wouldn't make sense for the troll not to just send them where they need to go, in a way. And I thought it might be, I don't know, too short. It's like, go to the priest. He says, "Oh, the troll, whatever name is here." They go to the troll, and then they go to the Orc Underground. There would be no religious thing, uncovering the weird religious swings, and going to the Bunraku parlor or the restaurant or stuff.
Right.
I don't know.
So one of the unique situations as a GM running these types of scenarios is you have the ability to see into your players' heads and what they are thinking. So if you have a bunch of clues out there and they start putting things together one way or another, you can see that. And if you see that they're going, with air quotes, the wrong way, you can correct them, you can give them clues to lean them back the other direction that they find out from the wrong direction that they wanted. Having a list of ideas, like you're going to have the fact that it was going through the Orc Underground. You're going to have this troll guy who seemingly who can be missing, but he is still a figure that exists. It's not just like a one guy doing a smuggling operation. When getting down into the Orc Underground, we can ask around this guy, find out he's part of this group of smugglers. We can then interact with the group of smugglers to see kind of what happened. They can give us information and send us on one direction or another. The overarching, just like word on the street, if we start asking around to ask people for information, can point us towards some of the Bunraku parlor stuff, can point us towards some of the weirder things, because one of the other things you mentioned is like perhaps the guy that arranged to liberate these chips was some guy who's kind of running a cult. So that's something that we can hear kind of word on the street, and there's a lot of different ways to bring that out, just in like.
And then there was a thing that sort of. Oh, sorry. Continue.
No, go ahead.
Because you asked me, like, was the crazy cult guy doing the stuff he was doing right now?
Right.
And that's the thing. I was saying, like, I kind of need to have to evolve a sense of reality of this world, because like when I was talking about the BTLs in my head, it was like almost totally possible for them to be almost mind controlling stuff, and that's probably because in one of the Shadowrun games they were like used like that or whatever.
They can do a lot to influence a person's personality and that kind of stuff, and kind of push them to make dumb decisions.
They're like drugs.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. It's like I'm not gonna. I'm trying to think of the words. Like while you're running the persona fix, you're gonna kind of be that person, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna. Because one of the things you mentioned later on in your notes was that if they came to a fight, they would be, like mindless attack dogs, kind of, and that's not quite what they would do. Like you can make strong changes to people's personalities, but shutting down that self-preservation instinct, that kind of thing, is way harder and would
Mm,
probably need more than just like a simple chip without any other influences. Like there's plenty of mental conditioning and brainwashing and all that good stuff that your your bad guy, for the lack of a better term,
mm-hmm.
um, could have been doing for months and years to these people before the chips kind of came into his hand and made things a lot easier for him.
Yes, that's sort of what I mean. According to the to my comments, actually, sort of sprung into my mind that uh, there was this connection between him and the original priest guy. Um,
Could be. Maybe he was
like,
a member of that congregation that was um, cast out for some reason or another.
well, I just came up with the idea that there's somehow they're rivals or whatever. Um, or maybe he's like a resenting past member of the congregation. I don't know. But that basically he's trying to do the same thing, but he failed. And he somehow found out that the guy upstairs is using the BTL chips, so he sort of tried to, I don't know, undermine him. I mean, but he basically stole the chips, and now is he doing the same thing downstairs?
Yeah, no, that's completely legit. Um, it could even be
And
less that he.
hmm?
It could even just
Go
be a
ahead.
target of opportunity for him. Like he finds out that, like he knows that this guy upstairs is doing the chip thing, but he doesn't really have anything that he can do about it until he hears that this troll is going to be transporting them at some point. And then he has maybe his congregation, maybe he hires a team of runners, maybe he hires some gangers or something like that to steal them. That's those are all legit possibilities.
I was kind of uh, thinking a little bit about. I don't know if that's not overkill, so maybe you can stop me there. But seeing as he was unsuccessful for so long, and he had to have some persuasive powers, I was thinking about some sort of, I don't know, like a helper of some kind, like a free spirit, or someone interested in helping him in any way to persuade a group of people. So with the Beatles and the spirit, he will be finally able to suddenly spring like a cult thing. I don't know.
If you look in Street Grimoire, as I look for it in my list of PDFs, um, let me find what I am looking for.
Because as you said, the Beatles are a little too little to suddenly spring a cult out of like nowhere. So I was thinking of additional things that I could maybe use to make it a little bit more credible. Since, if it's incredible and weird, let's just fix it to be more credible. But look where.
Page 92 in Street Grimoire lists shadow spirits.
Oh, hello.
It's like, oh, evil things, you say. The kind of things that
Mm.
players don't get to play with very often.
Well, interesting. See, this is the thing I'm lacking sorely. Like in D&D, I'm already well versed enough to sort of, oh, I need this monster, or I need this thing, or like this power, or whatever. Shadowrun has like a ton of those.
Yeah. So, the Muse is a type of spirit that feeds off the emotions of highly creative and expressive people, primarily artists. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the Muse can inspire an artist to levels of expression and creativity they may never have achieved alone. Uh, so, like, that could be part of what is behind his force of personality.
Mm-hmm.
The Muse is there inspiring him and giving him like little nudges on how to do things. And that's, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be what gets him kicked out because they are effectively evil creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that is another opposition thing that we could bump into.
Yes, I don't know. I kind of want to play to the things that weren't like played up very often, and I feel um, like when Rob changed his self, I feel like the magical aspect was downplayed a lot since like we had only very limited access to magic.
Right.
Uh, and as with the Orc Underground, I kind of wanted to play with like sort of spirits, like not summon spirits because those are like mindless robots in a way, but like actual free spirits
I mean,
doing
there could even
stuff.
be, if you want to get real crazy on this.
I don't know.
Oh, I feel like you want to get real crazy on this. So hanging out
Okay.
on that page 92, there's a couple of different forms of shadow spirits, of which
Mm-hmm.
the muse is the air quotes the nice one.
Mm-hmm.
So this uh, group of semi-religious people that this cult guy that you were talking about is kind of gathering power and that kind of thing could be in opposition of one of the other, I would say either wraith or a shade, because the shade feeds on misery, depression, and despondency, which is going to be pretty prevalent in the Orc Underground, or the wraith, which
Mm-hmm.
feeds off of violence. So there could be a potentially another faction that is there that this cult guy is pulling from, that perhaps this other shadow spirit is feeding off of.
So like first we send them on a run to get like a bunch of BTL chips, and then it's sort of or like a chip with sermons and stuff, and it turns into what, a demon war, like a shadow
Well,
spirit
see,
war.
that's where we play to find out what happens, because we have this idea. It's like, this is something that could plausibly be happen. We don't need to flesh
Mm-hmm.
out the other shadow spirit influence yet. Just the idea that maybe this this shade is here feeding off some of the depression and stuff. And our guy that we care about for the sake of this run is doing his thing with the help of this muse. Now,
Mm-hmm.
here's the part that really makes Shadowrun as opposed to like D&D. It's
Mm-hmm.
on us as players. We have completed the run. We have gotten the chips back to the guy above ground who wanted them. If we discovered that there was that shadow spirit um, conflict on the boil, do we go back down there and get involved with stuff that's not our problem, or do we just kind of like let that happen and just, we're not heroes. You want to pay us to go exercise some ghosts? Sure, we can go ghost bust. That's fine.
Yeah, they could just bust into the CCG's like place, take the chips, and go home,
Exactly.
and like no one ever knew. I was thinking about this. Sure, I mean that's part of the reason, I guess, in Dante's run you needed to like counterplay that because you wanted people to get involved with the Technomancer.
Yep, that was the whole reason that Allie was the character that I made to bring along, so that if for some reason Hex was quiet about it being a technomancer, she could speak up.
Mm, okay, but I mean there are a lot of moving parts, a lot of things to possibly do here, so I
Mm.
don't think we need to do that. We
Nope.
can just let
She'll
them go.
In this case she'll be coming along because she is the established character, and
Mm,
she'll have some fun things dealing with potentially racist people. In addition to some of the other interesting things, because you talked about wanting to go creepy underground metro station kind of thing, which could be where this cult guy has been holed up. If you've ever played any of the Fallout 3, New Vegas, or
Metro.
Fallout 4, or oh, I love the Metro games. They're so good.
Yeah.
Like there's a very easy way to establish a society living in a good sized abandoned metro station. So it would make for a good place for this guy to kind of base himself out of.
I was kind of thinking that. Plus, I mean, I figure it is. I mean, or it should be, or we can make it a bit of like different terrain, opposite like corridors and doors and buildings and stuff, because it's like hard rock and
Yeah.
underground
And
and
there's no
probably
sun.
narrow, no sun, mostly darkness.
Yeah.
You
The only
know.
thing we're going to really run into is, as like a negative thing, is going to be the fact that Hex is going to be kind of limited in what she can do because there's going to be problems getting to the greater matrix as a whole. But stuff
Hmm.
that's down there that it is electronic, she can absolutely mess with. But
I
like,
mean, I sort of imagine the cult not being totally like naked people dancing around the fireplace
that's
thing.
fun. You could even,
So I
since
mean,
we mentioned the Muse Spirit earlier, this cult with this guy at the head could even have these people that are there with the cult, like making things, painting, crafting, music, because this Muse Spirit is here and can influence them and in turn feed off of them. So it starts off by getting this cult guy to attract these followers with his force of personality and that kind of stuff. And then the Muse Spirit then kind of influences these other people that might have some artistic talent to do things, and it in turn feeds off of those people as well. Which could also be part of the
so
reason why these people like staying here. It's like I feel really inspired to do this thing that I enjoy doing in my shitty life.
so it's like creating a bit of heaven and sunshine in the York Underground,
Hmm.
because it's like dark and depressing and underground and stuff, and then you go like to this one metro station, and there's like an enclave of people making inspiring things and being on it awesome. Just
It wouldn't probably be like super amazing things, but it would definitely be like really good art or music or whatever that person's uh, personal
well, I
muse
guess
is.
that's where the Beatles would come in. Even if those things weren't like really amazing, they could feel amazing, or
Yeah.
the whole experience could feel amazing, and that might be the missing part
Or it could even
for the
just be
guy.
like there are people who have no artistic talent. I have no artistic talent. So, the muse can't really influence them. So the the guy that it's been manipulating gets the idea to use these chips that his buddy from upstairs used to use to make his uh, parishioners happy and compliant and that kind of stuff to give to the people who the muse isn't making full advantage of.
So it's like someone finding a backdoor in life. It's like, oh, I have this muse spirit that wants to do stuff, but I can't make it do stuff because those are total like bullshit on inspired people. So let's make them inspired by technology. It's like a
Less to
combo,
make them inspired,
combo
more
bad
to
guysm.
like here's this one person who has an art talent, but they have a group of friends. Like, well, if I give the group of friends the chips to make them happy, and the muse is making the artistic person happy, they're all gonna stay. And that's that much more power and influence that we have,
Mm,
rather than like, nah, man, this place is dumb. Let's go, and then they take their artistic friend and they get out of there.
cool.
Uh,
But that's another thing that they can research, but they don't have to. They can like see stuff. And by the way, I think because Rott's not gonna be there, that they are gonna see way less stuff. Uh, I mean, just in like the recon mode. I guess
yeah,
Ali is gonna be their lookout.
they definitely won't have like the drone advantage to get like bird's eye views and that kind of things. Um,
Mm.
Allie has weird sensory powers that she can use, so that's slightly different. But it's one of these things like these uh, the things that you are showing from the GM's perspective is not stuff that you are hiding from them. You want the players to see how terrible the life is down here, because that's part of like the, do we take these chips away from these people? You know, you want the environment, you wanted to use the metro and the underground environment, so you want them to see it. So you're not going to hide things like out of view. You're going to be like, oh yeah, no, you're in a sewer. The sewage is up to your ankles. It smells terrible. Which is going to be doubly terrible for Allie, but that's fine. This is one of the situations where I don't put dice pool penalties on players. I will instead give my NPCs bonus dice to resist what they're doing, because I don't like slowing the game down by saying, okay, you're going to shoot them, but lose 3 dice for wind conditions. But like, let's say for example you are sneaking through the sewer. It's like, okay, well, drop 2 dice off your roll because you're splish splashing in the water and there's nowhere to really hide. You want to put that oppressive nature on them. When Sue or Jet goes to do things that are magically oriented, there's going to be a background count because the conditions are just terrible, and that emotion. Plus Allie, but you know they're not necessarily always going to be with each other. So you want to bring up that oppressive, everything is not as you're used to, disempowering feeling. It's like, okay, you know, just you're going to lose 2 dice off your spell to accommodate for the background count.
So I guess a lot of the effect that I kind of want to do is to paint the Orc Underground and the underground environment in the right way, to stress how awful it is, how life is not good in there.
Yeah. Like, we're probably going to be down there for a couple of days. Sooner or later, we're going to have to eat. And that's going to be... Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I did till the 3rd season.
Okay, never mind.
Till the bloody wedding, I'm sorry.
So there was a scene in the first episode of season 7 where they use repetition. They're feeding these people gruel, and then they show the character cleaning chamber pots, and the gruel and the poop look really similar. So when we eventually get something to eat, it's going to be one of those things that, like, you are served a bowl of brown liquid with some chunks floating in it. Or something equally, like, this food's not going to be great because it's probably grown and produced down here. Not the best quality conditions for really anything.
Plus, like, a lot of mushrooms. At least that's what I've heard that they're growing in the Orc Underground.
Sure. I don't think anybody has any allergies, so we can't really play off of that. And sadly, nobody has Creature of Comfort.
But Sue has high lifestyle, and he has, like, claustrophobia, so that's something.
The claustrophobia will be great. The horrible smells with Allie are going to be great because she's got real strong senses of smell.
I was thinking to, like, the oppressive noise penalties for Hex. Could also be like depressing a little bit, but at least at the moment that they reach the cult, she should have something to do. So I don't want to take it away from her. I want to make the cult like I don't know, like, let's say Matrix enabled, or at least.
Yeah, no, they can totally have some kind of, not like a host and like full blown working Matrix, but they could definitely have some technological stuff going on. Remember, if we use this Muse Spirit, these people are inspired. And they have creativity, so they can jury-rig things together to make it function. So that'll give her things. It'll be more. Her noise problems will come into play if she wants to do anything that reaches outside the underground, and things that are kind of not in line of sight. So you know.
So I guess the problems will come up until they get to the actual action, I guess. So like close to the whole cult thing.
Well, like for
Uh,
example, when we go tracking down this guy, this troll smuggler, if we find out that he's part of a group and Hex wants to hack the guy in the group's comlink just to maybe he's not giving us a lot of information in the conversation, maybe any number of things, and Hex wants to hack it.
mhm.
Hex can hack that phone link comlink, sorry, and we can get information from it that way because we're in the immediate vicinity, as opposed to like out just in the general populace.
Mm. So, like, because that's such an important point, do you have any thoughts on the Orc Underground? Like, because I'm now really into finding out a lot about it, so I can play it right. Um, how dark should I make it? It's like a beggar's nest kind of situation,
That
or is it
is
like
is
a?
kind of up to you. This is a place that we
Mhm.
have not explored as a table. Sure, there are official books and literature out there on how it is, but for the most part, we know how it is. It's a shitty place that's full of orcs and trolls that are being oppressed, would be a fair word. But really, anything you do is fine because we haven't narratively established what the Orc Underground means for our table. We've never
Mhm.
been there before. Now, like, if you go through and you establish it as dark, crappy place, and then next run, you know, I run and we go back to the Orc Underground, it's all smiles, rainbows, sunshine, and puppies. There's a there's a narrative disconnect there. It's like, oh, hold on. Now, I should probably tweak it to keep narrative consistency with what you have already set up.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, just like from a hint and pointer kind of perspective, when you're making a place like this, like how dark do you make it? Because there's like a limit to how dark it can get before they will just, I don't know,
Just kind of check out.
just cry and just
Um, that's the
let's
kind
get
of
out of
thing,
this.
like, you don't need that all planned out. You can very
Mm-hmm.
easily just read the room and see how things are going and see how the players, not necessarily their characters, but how the players are reacting. And you can kind of push it, pull it back, you know, adjust it as you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And not every place needs to be the same blanket terribleness. Maybe after eating there for a couple of days and finding out how crappy everything is, people are starting to get down, but then we find this one diner where the food's actually good. There's some big troll waitress lady who's, always bright and sunny and shining. Like she's just a singular beacon of white light in this otherwise really dark place. And it's just a good, fun interaction that kind of brings those spirits back up before we step back out into the terrible world.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing that's the thing I can never be sure about. That will I read the players correctly? Because the one thing I'm expecting is that the whole thing will go differently than I expect.
It's
Because the
usually
players will give me a lot of cool ideas that I would like. Oh no, that sounds way more fun than I thought it out. Let's do it like that.
um,
So I kind of hope they will.
we'll see, probably.
Mm, but from like the details. So there's a priest. He wants his chips back.
Hmm.
Some crazy guy got the better of him and stole the chips. He's in the underground with let's say, with a muse spirit, inducing some kind of
Inspiring.
cult, inspiring, uh, some kind of a half religious
So what we
cult.
have is we have the beginning, which is the
Mm-hmm.
Johnson who wants the chips, and we know where the chips are. Everything else
Mm-hmm.
in between is really fluid. Having the idea of the Muse spirit and potentially that other Shadow spirit and like those two factions that are kind of interacting is good because it gives us more hooks to stick into things later on.
Mm-hmm. So I guess like just not to forget about it. The shadow spirit could actually be nested in the cult of the orc underground. They have like trolls and orcs, which are supposedly an aggressive race,
Hmm.
more like stereotypically.
That's what the media would
Uh,
have you believe.
yeah, exactly. But like totally coincidentally, there could be a wraith somewhere in there. Like I remember there like the scorches and the because the whatever sons that I pulled out of the shadow Wikipedia,
Hmm.
the botcom, they're like mostly smugglers.
Right.
So I don't
So,
know, some kind of
so we
other
have
gang.
our starting point with the Johnson and the job. We have our end point
Mm-hmm.
with the where it's going to be, and we have a like we have A, which is the start. We have B, which is the ending. We have like B.1, which is like the muse, and B.11 it's the potential other shadow spirit that's doing stuff,
And there's B.111 and the rest of the shipment possibly.
possibly. And then we have the crime scene for like A1, A2, A3, all that good stuff. We have like the crime scene. We have the name of this troll smuggler. We have the fact that we know that it's in New York Underground. We have the word on the street, which could be the Bunruku parlors. Uh, just the fact that the group exists off in the metro is something we could pick up on the off the street. That they're happy people, however you want to
Then
kind of,
suddenly there are like happy people in the orc underground, and that's weird.
yeah, people on the outside are going to not trust it because clearly something weird's going on there. But we have like 3 or 4 different ways that we can gain information to propel us from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
We could flesh them out a
Um,
bunch, but what happens when the group doesn't bite on any of those, or only
mhm.
bites on one of them? That's a lot of work. I
And you
don't
don't
do a lot
like
of work.
work?
That right.
Yeah.
Um, it's up to you on how much you feel about fleshing those out. But I feel like that's a good set of ideas that we have there laid out.
Mm. Like as sort of Dante said, and that's the thing I'm gonna echo right now. And myself, I guess. I don't really have the reality check uh, set of skills that you have right now. Like as you said, like the shadow spirits just came to your mind, and maybe some shadow critters I could use. They're perfect for this situation, and I don't know about them and like matrix powers and resonance shit and magical whatever.
Well,
Um,
the
that's the thing I'm a little worried about. Like reading the group and doing the room requires some kind of a knowledge out of me.
well
Uh,
the resonance powers and the shadow like the other shadow spirit stuff. That's that's cute, really. Like this guy can still just as easily be this cult leader guy without the shadow spirit thing. The shadow spirit is just a flavor of why he is so influential to have gathered these people together. He could have just been a mage and is applying some kind of magic. There's a control emotion spell. I don't remember off the top of me if there's an AoE version. But there's also like a euphoria spell. So he could just like maybe ritually cast quickened, anchored, to done something to kind of stick that spell in the area. Maybe with the help of like just a normal spirit. Or maybe he's just doing it through other drugs and this is just like, "Oh, I heard about a shipment of chips that are feel good chips. I'm gonna get my hands on those because I need them because I'm out of my chemical drugs. And I need something to kind of keep me in control of these people." The the muse is just a different flavor of that. The other shadow spirit faction could just as easily be just another gang who also sells drugs, and they're just competing because they
just
sell drugs.
and if that was the case, if they found out about it, there would be like an interesting thing with the crazy cult guy is actually making people sort of happy, and the other guys are not really, and they're about to take down the happy crazy cult guy because they're paid to.
Right. Which is fine,
Like,
you know.
yeah, I mean, Dante's gonna be there, so Rott isn't really a much of a meddler. But I guess Dante is a bit more charismatic, so maybe he'll talk a little with them.
Yeah.
Let's see where that
And
happens.
one of the things that I'm looking forward to is this doesn't come up yet, but Allie is actually a dry addict to Bliss.
I
Her
read that. Yeah.
recently was a Bliss addict. Is dry addict was added as a quality, which is kind of halfway between being an addict and buying it off completely. When
Hmm.
she became a changeling, messed with her physiology, the drug now makes her sick. So she can't doesn't take it anymore. So she's gone through like the immediate withdrawal of it. But it's one of those things that's just kind of needling in the back of her head. It's like, man, everything is terrible. I really wish I could get high right now.
Mm.
Introduce chips, which is something she probably hasn't thought about because she's had a lot on her mind with suddenly becoming a freak. Is now it's like, oh, I could try this. I tell you right now, you put a drug dealer in front of me that we're interacting with and talking to, she will probably buy some chips and say, hey, it was to find out, it was to get it in and get information out of him. And then she'll slot that shit.
Hmm. I mean, I've got some concepts for that I don't think I want to reveal yet. I
Yeah, that's
hope
fine.
I'm gonna get the chance to use them on the spot. If not, that's fine. But there's definitely an area when I could ask you about stuff, and that's mechanics.
Yeah.
It's like because there's going to be potentially a lot of people to potentially shoot or potentially roll against, like the Muse Spirit, gang members, like huge meaty trolls. Because I don't know, they might like roll a glitch on the gang territory and just piss off a huge troll or something. Um, so should I make like a default huge troll, a default Muse Spirit, a
So I would.
default crazy cult guy?
The nice thing about spirits is they are all X plus number, and it's
Mm-hmm.
based upon what force they are. I actually have the page still open here in front of me. So a shadow spirit, its body is equal to its force, its agility is its force plus 3, its reaction is force plus 2, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
it's they're really easy to stat out. So you just got to kind of think a little bit about what their stats are going to be and what you think an appropriate opposition level is for this thing. I would
Mm-hmm.
outside of that, I wouldn't worry about their stats. Your gangers, they're probably going to be 10 dice for the things that they do. Maybe, probably 2d6 initiative because Cram is great. It lasts for hours. It gives you a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of a high, and it gives you an extra initiative dice. And then I would maybe give the orcs and trolls maybe like 18 to 20 soak dice because that'll be like an armor jacket is already 12. That's another like 6 for just being a big and tough. Maybe the trolls are a little bit tougher rather than worrying about a full on stat block. I would just write down 10 dice, 8 plus 2d6, 18 to 20 initiative or soak. That that guy that almost
Pretty
killed
much.
your rotodrone only threw 7 dice to shoot it.
I know, that sucked. Uh, but he didn't.
Almost.
Um, yeah, I edged that twice, so he didn't. So yeah. Like the mechanical part to set out the spirit to see what powers it has and does it make sense. Gang members do stuff with the 10 dice and 8 plus 2d6 initiative in case they're gonna fight, which I don't think they will because I mean, I don't think any one of them is particularly survivable. And
Well,
I mean,
here's one of the things. The dangerous part about the gang is not that that one ganger. It's the fact we are on their turf. We are drastically outnumbered. There are 4, 5 of us maybe in the scene. So
And
those,
they're all like orcs and trolls, so
and
it's
if we
gonna take
start
long to
shooting,
kill
it's
them.
only there's only more that are going to show up. So we're real de-incentivized from starting trouble with a bunch of gangers and stuff down here because this is their turf.
I kind of wish for that because as far as things are going, I kind of feel it might go a long time, and I don't really want to. I would like it to be, well, not on the shorter side. It should take as long as it should take, but I don't want it to take like 3, 4 adventures. So that's gonna be a long time.
I mean,
Uh,
it might take 3 or 4 sessions just because it's one of those things that I've noticed when you are going to a, I'm going to use the term foreign area, but this isn't really like a super foreign area, but it's foreign enough that the setting and the situation are going to be different than what every character is used to. There's going to be some adjustment
mhm.
periods, and it's going to be like, okay, like these people all still speak English and stuff, and they're all still, native to Seattle, but the way things operate down here are going to be a little bit different. We don't have to worry about Lone Star or Knight Errant coming in to bother us, but we do have to worry about all the various gang and orc factions that are down here that have their own territory that we're going to be pissing off.
Hmm.
Superfan, you got anything to say?
Okay.
Let's see. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of background that the players will probably never touch on, but that's okay. It helps you guide how your NPCs and how people are going to react. As far as mechanics and not knowing all the rules, you don't have to. That's what all the other players are there for. That's why Bamce is here. So if you have a question, you just ask and somebody will answer it. Nobody expects you to know all the rules. You don't have to.
Well, Bamse is leaving, so I want to be, I'm trying
And you'll
to.
have players that will also be able to work with you. What I do in my games is I make my players, they should know the rules for their characters. I don't have to know all the rules. They should know some. And
I'm
that's okay.
I'm gonna try.
Okay. Okay. But I think it's going to be a great run. It'll be fun. It'll be a new experience going to the Orc Underground. And I say you make it dark and uncomfortable and miserable, but not dark violent, just dark miserable.
Well, you say that like it's a small feat, like oh, you
No.
you just make a world and make it,
It's always show them, don't
that
tell them.
way. Yeah, I hope it's gonna be great.
It is.
But if I understood everything right, it's gonna be like 2 weeks from now at least, since we're going on this crazy
Monday,
residence.
Monday is going to be a crazy adventure. I will.
You plan it to be like Monday, probably.
Yeah, no, it's. I will do
Will it
everything in my
just be
power.
one session?
Yeah, I'll do everything in my power to be like, look, guys, we're not tangenting tonight. We're going to stay on task, and we're going to get this done in a singular night because I don't want it
So
to.
I might be missing maybe because the house I'm currently staying in got unusually crowded, and me playing at night requires having at least a wall apart from people. So I might not have that. So
That's fine. This is
yeah,
super optional night thing.
okay. So I might not be there, but that turns out good since you know I probably will be here 2 weeks from now. So
Yep, that's the plan anyway.
uh, I'm gonna test you with like some more comments and stuff, like,
Sure.
but that's on Discord and stuff. I'm gonna be asking you about things. Uh, and probably you too, Superfan.
Okay.
If you're willing.
Yep, always. Anytime.
Because you'll be my reality checks. I really like that when I say stuff that doesn't make sense, which I kind of do. I listen to this awful cheesy epic music from time to time, and it makes me feel like stuff that's impossible is possible. So I like having anchors. And yeah, and stops me from crying at night from the thought that Bamce is leaving us. So
Yeah. Sorry. There are many others who need me. I must go where I am needed.
that was super cheesy and epic.
Sorry.
But anyway, I will just listen to your streams and add those little numbers under your subscriber count and
Aw.
stuff.
Warms my cold black heart.
And it doesn't.
So.
Okay, I mean,
Okay.
as we established it, I think I'm good. I'm good on the mechanical part as far as it's usable. I'm gonna still probably be asking questions like, oh, is this spirit reliable? Is this power reliable? Like, should it look like this? Should it look like that? Blah blah blah. But like more or less, I think stuff is fleshed out. Like the main thing, I guess, of the adventure will be how miserable the Orc Underground is versus how this one place that they're about to tear down is helping people. In a way, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, basically.
I wonder if they'll turn back from the run. I guess the group always found a way not to actually fail the run, but kind of maybe do the sort of right thing. I wonder.
Sounds like us.
Ah, you said us.
I did. Sorry, it was a slip of the tongue.
One more question, and that's like one of the easier ones, I think, about the money. I have no idea how much this should cost, and like depending on the dice, the dice boundaries we set, like 10 dice, gangers, being outnumbered, probably 3 to 4 days, maybe maybe a moral question somewhere inside. How much should they actually be allowed to gain to make this a choice or a consideration, I guess? I don't know.
Well, some of it's going to depend upon, like, did you have an idea on how much you wanted to pay them, or are you just completely lost in...
I'm really open to ideas, since Rott's not going to be there, so I don't care, in a way. But I would really like to hear your... I mean, I heard the basic recommendation, like, the harder it gets, the more you pay.
Right.
But I don't think I can establish how hard it will be, since it's like a crazy cult situation, so basically most of the things can happen. So I don't know, actually. How much do you think? What should I consider?
There's a lot of different ways that this could go. A good way to gain bonus money would be if we were allowed to kind of like loot and pillage the rest of the shipment if we find it.
So I guess the way you're going is that the job itself should be like maybe minimal pay or maybe a little bit above, but there should be ways to get more money down the run. It's like if you take up the Wraith Spirits deal, if you, I don't know, like cooperate with the gangers, if you sell the shipment or something.
There are definitely ways to get more money out of it by doing those things. There's also the opportunity to get a bunch of karma and contacts out of it. Like, there's this troll guy who's gone missing because you didn't want it to be an easy go talk to him, he tells you where the things are. But we can get clues from his guys to find out what happened. Maybe he's been kidnapped by not the cult faction, but maybe the other faction. If we find out the details, if we get him back or something like that, that gives us an in with these guys that are smugglers. Now, granted, they operate mostly out of the Orc Underground, but that doesn't mean that they don't go anywhere else.
Well, if I read it correctly, but that was like from the 4th edition, but it might cross over. The Sons of Kham, the Bot Kham, are a part of the Creeps, which are a general gang in Seattle that smuggles things. So
Sure.
like
Well, like remember I said
contacts
we
are
haven't
important.
established anything narratively about them yet. So if you want them to be a potential source of reward, because it's like, okay, you've rescued one of our members, we'll be happy to help you guys out. Boom, there's a contact to make use of. Like that's its own different kind of reward. That's also good to have.
Hmm. Do you have like pre-thought out personalities that you sort of insert there into the run, aside from like the uh, super kind ray of hope waitress troll big girl
So,
you mentioned?
Bertha, I've used her before in a run. It was great. One of the uh, one of the runners there was also a troll, and she tried to
Mm.
set that runner up with her grandson.
Ah.
Yeah. Um, the only thing that I have as far as like personalities is like reminding, basically reminding us that non-orcs and trolls are terrible to orcs and trolls. So Hex and Dante are going to kind of get the short end of the racist stick because what are you doing down here, Smooth Skin?
Oh, the slang. I need to brush up on the slang.
Yeah. Call them breeders, call them
Pinkies, keeps.
I don't think he's a
Are there no elves?
I don't think there's an elf.
No, nothing pinkies,
No.
breeders.
Yeah. You could straight up just, call Ellie a freak to her face if you want. There's
Mm.
there's
Oh,
plenty
geez.
of
But
Let's
maybe in
call
like
her.
a sympathetic way, since some of them might just, acknowledge she's a freak, but just, they're freaks too in a way, so fuck
Yeah,
it.
and that's the thing. Like, you could have one group like really just maybe even just like one person who's leading a group of his gang members just giving her shit about being a freak, and the next guys that we end up interacting with don't care that she's a freak. They just kind of, yeah, that's great, whatever. Look, it's all terrible down here, so we don't really care what you look like.
Discriminate.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. Uh,
Not all not all people think and act the same way, so you are free to just kind of like make different sets of interactions dependent upon who and where they interact with them.
okay. Well, that's another thing that I hope the players will give me more hints on as they progress. Okay. So I guess, I mean, I don't know what to ask about next. I heard a lot about stuff. I know what I have to focus on, I think. I have still some comments. Did I have comments I didn't answer at all? Or like answered very little? So the amount of Nuyen, we didn't actually
No,
touch on that, like finish this.
um, you could probably get away with like 4 grand a person because um, you kind of want to play up the pitiful angle a little bit. Like this guy's in a crappy position. He needs our help. He can't really pay a whole lot, but he could pay so much Nuyen, and then just like
He already like bleeds out for his congregation and like buys them
yeah,
like,
and
fucking
then when
chips
they
with sermons and stuff.
and because they're gonna press because that is what you negotiate for. Um, Rather than offer more money, you can offer like services more or less. Like, um,
Of the church?
yeah, like it is a place that they could potentially hide out and just kind of lay low at.
A safe
So
house.
like a safe house
Kind of like it, not necessarily like a
full of addicted BTL junkies
Yeah.
praying to God.
It's any port in a storm is the saying, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
a place that we could go and lay low at. It is a place that potentially, if we wanted, we could work out a small, like maybe they have something there, uh, like a medical thing that they could help people who are sick or whatever. Um, just think of like totally cliche things when you come up with the idea of like this is out in the Barrens or something like that. It's a crappy place to live, but it is still a place that you could have 4 hots and a cot. You can basically add like a squatter lifestyle that actually functions as a little bit above that if people wanted to actually like live there. One of the things that you could do, and I know this is sort of self-serving, is you could just have them be really accepting of Allie, and she might want to just stay there because everywhere that she's been so far, she's been basically treated like a freak. And if these people are more accommodating to her status, like that's incentive right there for her to do it.
I also thought about them just being good source of information, since like probably free information, since the guy is actually hearing a lot of, I don't know, like confession type things. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe not so much the confessions, because if you tell something to a priest in confidence as a confessor, you don't want him to then turn around and sell that stuff right away.
Well, in a way, yes, but that's also the thing that was in my mind. Like how the guy is using BDL chips to keep his guys. Like how morally good is he?
That's true. Um, there is also the chance for the stereotypical gang of street urchins, like Varys has his little birds.
For a street of gang merchants? No.
Urchins.
Hmm.
I was high today. Sorry.
You did say you were going to Amsterdam.
Yeah. Uh, Sure. Thanks a lot. I now have a bunch of stuff that I need to think about more than the stuff that I needed to think before.
I do what I can.
Yes. I thank you for it. Uh, Limit quality, swoop in, blah blah blah. Oh, I have no idea about the crime scene. I mean, like, it's just I still have like 2 weeks, but then again, like
So
one and a half.
let's think about the crime scene for a moment. What is going to be here a couple of days after it happened? For one, nothing of value,
Mm-hmm.
because these are kind of like scavengers a little bit. Um, you're probably not going to find any bodies, but you could. Um, a lot of what you're likely or we're likely to come across is going to be stuff like eyewitnesses or people that may or may not be willing to talk to varying degrees. Like probably have to flash some cash to get people to talk, and just kind of like, hey, what happened here? Maybe there's a wrecked car that was part of the transport, but this is a crappy set of a crappy area, so anything that is worthwhile is probably been stripped out of it that is not you know the frame of the vehicle.
Mm.
But there's still like nobody really has, to my memory, forensics oriented knowledge skills or anything like that. The closest you got,
No.
it would be Rott knowing things about vehicles that he could perhaps grab some information about these things, but he's not going to be there. Not that that matters.
Hmm.
Um,
So I was thinking like in case of like clues and such, I was thinking about like biological stuff, magical residue, some sort of, I don't know, like uh, moss or mushroom or bacteria that like Ali could sniff. I don't really have much since it's
the
like
the
this
scent
part of the world.
the scent based thing could totally work. There could be some weird scent there that she picks up on. The magical stuff would probably have long since faded away, but that doesn't mean that we can't like draw somebody's attention into looking into these things and being in the area and be like, hey, somebody, we go there on Tuesday, we'll say, and then we go back. We don't find anything. We go back to wherever it is we are, and then we have some gang oriented dude come up to us and be like, "Yo, somebody says you've been sniffing around my turf." You know, it going to the crime scene didn't directly get us information, but it got us information indirectly.
Mm,
And it gives you the
so just
opportunity to just kind of like continue to hammer home the fact that this place sucks.
ugh, I'm gonna have to watch a depressing movie before this adventure. Just to sort of get in the spirit. We're gonna start the stream, and I'm gonna be like sobbing a little bit. Uh, sure. So I've got like nothing of value, no bodies, eyewitnesses, wrecked car, or like transport vehicle, only parts. Send thing for Ali as a possible thing, and someone gets to talk to them because they sort of didn't find anything.
You you could
Now I
still
have
put
like,
in
yeah.
like it is potential. There's nothing stopping you from putting in some magical thing if you really want to. Like you can easily put in some kind of magical residue. Sue probably won't know what it is because the things that we've talked about so far as magical situations are things like shadow spirits and stuff, which is not run of the mill things that people run into. So like
Mm.
that's
No, no, no.
something
I
to
want to keep it. I want to keep it simple. So
sure.
if that sounds like really unreasonable, that's why I like the reality check situation. If it sounds unreasonable, I don't want to go there. As you said, a lot of moving parts. I don't want to overdo it. Um, Scenting for alley, sniffing around the crime scene. There's one thing that strikes me as like Dante can talk to people, or
Hmm.
like maybe shoot, and know everything. Uh, Sue is gonna be like the obvious spokesperson since he's one of the people of the Orc Underground and charismatic.
Hmm.
Uh, Jet's gonna be like an orc, so why not? Uh, but then like that, I think that kind of leaves Hex like with a lot of noise penalties, and I don't think she can do much more.
Well, the noise penalty things would only really come into play with trying to do stuff outside the underground. If she's trying to
Mm-hmm.
hack things in the underground, she shouldn't be really affected. The
But there's the thing that there are probably not as many advanced things in the Orc Underground to
Yeah,
hack.
well, she also has the ability, like the resonance allows you to do weird things, as we'll find out Monday night, which is going to be great. The so just her holding items, she might be able to figure some stuff out because that gets her like a direct connection with any of the electronics in a thing. Um, that actually the crime scene, she might be able to get a feeling from the like touching the vehicle and any like most of the electronics are going to be stripped out, right? But the
Mm.
some of the stuff might be embedded throughout the frame or something like that. That oh, this is a broken piece of technology. They just left it on the ground, and like she could find it, pick it up, and maybe through resonance bullshit, um, figure some stuff out that we normally wouldn't be able to.
Well, that kind of, I guess that kind of remains to be seen if Hex will break her curse and roll like a good
Nutcracker.
roll.
I
Yeah.
mean, I could
Not
also
glitch.
kill her on Monday night, so we'll see.
You could. Amazing. Okay. So Technomancer bullshit. I also wrote. Okay. Okay. I guess I'll try to manage everything. So I'm done. I think. I hope.
Well,
What's so funny?
Nothing. You're gonna be fine. You are there. You've got more than enough already plotted out.
I know, but it's like
Good.
shoes and the size of the shoes and filling of the shoes and
You're overthinking it. They're gonna do all the heavy lifting, not you.
that's another thing. That was my advice to Dante. Like pushing and shoving people because the run would have been a lot shorter if he was pushing us just a little bit more. It's a good thing he didn't, but he could have, and that's something I'm gonna have to judge on my own. Like when should I cut,
well, this
like
has
Sue out or Jet out or whatever.
this has way more moving parts than Dante's run did, because
Mm-hmm.
Dante's run was like the focus of that run was the inter-character dialogue, where this run that you're talking about is just a lot more interesting because of the different moving parts that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Dante's run was interesting because it's like, how do the players and the characters figure out what's going on here in a admittedly shitty situation for the Technomancer,
Mm-hmm.
and we found out how that works out.
So, should I just tell them to investigate stuff? Because I found out that investigating is a bad verb. It's sort of um, like people have problems with figuring out what investigate means fully because they are not their characters.
Right. It'll be one of those
Uh,
things where we will probably put a list of clues that we have up there. Like the Johnson will be able to probably tell us name of the troll. Probably be able to tell us where the shipment was hijacked or interacted with, maybe like a GPS coordinates or something when they lost track of the shipment. So that'll give us the crime scene. He gives us the Orca Underground, which points us in that direction. Two of those are leads. One of them is a location, which we know we're going to have to go to because it's, this is where the thing happened, and this is where uh, that guy is.
well, the thing is, now, should the location be in the Orc Underground? Because if so, there might not be coordinates straight up. Uh,
You could give coordinates based on like a street address or something. Yeah, I guess you're right. If Hex is going to have noise problems getting to and from, this guy would have problems getting information about where his package is.
because like that was the point of the whole troll, to make it an investigation. Because
Yeah.
if the priest sort of didn't know anything, it's like, oh, just do it for me, please, and like
Yeah. So
then the troll would know everything. So fighting the troll would be like the first thing, I
yeah,
guess. I don't know.
and we would know to go to the underground because that's where you know it was this guy, whatever you're going to name him, from the Orc
Mm-hmm.
Underground. It's like, okay, we have a name and we have a place where we're going to start. Asking around about the guy in the underground can point us in the direction of the rest of his smuggler people. It can point us in the direction, like, since we're just going to be interacting and talking with people, we can get a lot of word on the street. So that can get
Mm-hmm.
us information about any number of things.
Just depending on what the group asks about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
And some of that stuff, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you ask about. Like, it's probably going to take a little bit of time to find somebody that knows this troll, or knows the actual troll we're looking for. So what kind of other just information are we going to pick up over the course of time of conversing with people?
Maybe you have some run plot hooks that you were going to do that I can insert to make future things cool. I don't know.
Well, you can seed a lot of information that way. You can seed the fact that there's just like idle chit chat about this group that's in some kind of conflict with this other group. If you want to foreshadow the two shadow spirit things, you can just talk about this religious guy to kind of point us in the direction of the cult guy. You can talk about the act of violence that is the crime scene, about, you know, a big truck overladen with all kinds of stuff. Maybe even meet with some of the people that pillage, that pillage that truck in the aftermath of that fight. You know, maybe somebody is just around that has information that way. You know, he stole some other parts of the shipment, but he can tell us what group did it or where it happened, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have like 2 weeks. I'm gonna be sitting and drinking coffee over this. It's like my idea of a cool afternoon, thinking about oppressive stories and how to tell them oppressively.
Perfect. I just got a French press, so.
Aww, that was so dry.
I don't get it.
I don't either. No. Okay, so it's like 11 p.m. at my place, and I've been working hard this whole day, doing stuff.
Nah.
Being a serious citizen. So yeah.
Sounds unfun.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're not done. I'm gonna pester you some more, but thank you
why
very
I'm here.
much.
And even after I go away, feel free to pester.
I'm gonna have to take all the things out of my eyes.
Yeah? Is it your finger?
I wish.
You wish you had your finger in your eye? That doesn't sound healthy.
No, you wish it was a finger.
I mean, not really.
I
That
don't
doesn't sound
want-
healthy. No one cause injury to you. At least not yet.
Jesus.
He cannot help you. He's had all of his chips stolen.
You're on fire and I'm sleepy. That's not a fair fight. Super fan.
Yes.
Take my mantle and, say stuff to Bamce while I'm going to cry a little.
Barf.
Okay, so thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yep.
Bye.
I will talk to you throughout the week, Rott.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And people who potentially listen to this, sorry for my accent. Bye-bye.